Hi everyone. Can you hear me well? Perfect. So, very pleased to be here and to share some of the thoughts I have and help you in one way or another, probably guide you through some of the choices that you have to make probably in a couple of years. So, as an advice or thinking of my career, when I look back 20 years ago, the company for which I work today, Meta, did not exist. So one thing about career is that you build it and you learn it along the way. So if you ask me 20 years ago, had I known that I'll be working for Meta in 2022? No, not at all, right? So there's a lot of uncertainty and unknowns when you start your career, and this is fine. It's okay not to have answers to everything, because the career that you build is a sequence of events that you get to build one on top of each other, and every event and every experience that you have in life will prep you for the next stage based on the skills that you build, the people that you meet, the network also that you develop. So all of these will come together to help you build a career. However, there are some guiding principles that I think are constant throughout my careers, and I believe were very essential in helping me get to where I am today. So one is excel in what you do. No matter what field you choose to go for, if you're an artist or you're a painter or you're a performer, a dentist, a doctor, or whatever field you decide to go to, do well whatever you do, because this contributes to building your reputation as a person who does very well what they do and they're good at what they do. That's one thing. The second thing is, today if I look at the different career paths, okay, you can decide to start as an entrepreneur and start your own thing directly after college. Even some of them drop out of college to start their own thing, and they're probably millionaires by now. Or you can go through the corporate path and then work for these big multinational companies or some sort of regional companies. I went through the corporate path, and if you decide to go through this path, it is very important to work for the leaders in these fields, especially when you're young and when you're building your capabilities, because you want to work in a company that will teach you and that will provide you an environment when you can learn the complexity of doing things, either through operating in different markets, operating in different regions, operating in different sectors. So if you decide to go for, let's say, the consumer packaged good field, which is basically all the products that you buy online or in the supermarket, go for the leaders in beauty, go for the leaders in luxury, go for the leaders in these subcategories where you can build this experience. So do well, work for big companies where you can learn this experience, and build your network. And this is, I think, is crucial in helping you build the next stage in your career. All the jobs I got was because I knew someone in this company that called me one day and, Anna, we have this position here, are you interested in applying, etc. So don't underestimate the power of people and the power of the network that you will build throughout your career.
So to build up on that, I saw that you got a degree in electrical engineering early on in your life. So what led you to go from a degree in something like that to then go into a field like retail and e-commerce? How does that work?
Okay, so remember, I graduated more than 20 years ago. So back then, if you're not an engineer, if you're not a doctor or a lawyer, you don't have a job, right? So I was good at school, I had good grades, I was good in math, physics, and chemistry. So the natural choice was to go into engineering. So I went in there, and the first year I was like, what am I doing? It's so dry, I don't like it. So I decided to drop out engineering, and I enrolled in economics. I'm like, yeah, maybe this is a bit better. So I took summer courses in economics, and I went there, and I remember the first course was like microeconomics. So I went there and it was so abstract that I'm like, no, this is not for me. I miss my equations, I miss my... So then I went back to engineering, and I completed my degree back then, but I never really liked the technical, so it wasn't like a true calling for me. And again, when I graduated, I decided to go for, I applied to, I was good at math and good at finance, so I found a job that actually combined the coding part of it with finance, which was, I worked for a big financial software company. And again, one thing led to the other. So when 4 or 5 years through my experience at this company, I realized that I lacked the managerial skills. This is when I said, okay, probably I need the MBA, because this is the degree that will allow me to take on more responsibilities in my career, to start leading, to start managing businesses, etc. And then I went to the MBA, and again, deciding which school is also going for also the top schools, because these names on your CV when you're young will help contribute to your brand. So today, if you have a degree from a reputable university, or it's always better than a degree from a university nobody has heard of. And then one thing led to the other. So in my MBA, I wanted to broaden my perspective, so I went into management consulting. And it happened that during my internship, I worked on a consumer packaged good project, randomly. So this is when I discovered this industry that I found, to be fond of, and was my, the time where I decided this is the industry, CPG and retail, that I want to specialize in.
I'm sure many of us here were thinking, like, if we're going to do our GCSEs in the next few years, I'm sure many of us were thinking that it's locked in place forever, and that from there we can never change our field or do something else. So I'm really glad that you explained that, because if you're passionate about something else a few years later, or you're not sure now, this can really help as you're going forward in life.
Totally. I think if you're unsure what you want to study in college, go for the degree that is very broad, that will allow you to specialize after, as you build more experience, as you know more about what you like, or as you mature as a person. So, like engineering, for example, is super broad. After engineering, you can do practically everything. Law is also super broad. So I never worked in engineering.
Yeah.
I have a degree in engineering, but I never went into an electrical, I went into a power plant back then, and when I was in college, but then never since. And my husband always makes fun of me, like, you don't even know how to change a light bulb. So, but I'm an engineer by degree, and this degree was actually my passport that allowed me to go to different fields.
So you said that you're very passionate about community development, and more specifically, education, diversity, and inclusion. Why do you think that these are so crucial in today's society?
I mean, look at this room, right? We're probably from different backgrounds, different countries. We're all, diversity is not only about where you come from and what you believe in, but also, what you like, and this in the workplace, and there's a lot of studies that have proven that you have better business outcomes when you work in a diverse environment. And so I think we have enough research and enough literature that has proven that diversity is beneficial, right? But it is very important to embed this in everything we do, right? So I work for Meta, for example. Today, if Meta wants to become really a global company, it goes back to the engineering, to the product they develop, right? So how do these products cater to everyone in terms of languages, in terms of people of determination? How do we make this accessible to everyone? Like the recent developments on the Metaverse. So like a month ago, we announced that on the Metaverse, you need to have your avatars, which is your digital version of yourself. So now we have included avatars to represent all diversity, and this is extremely important, because if we want to to use these products, and we really need to feel that these products are made for us, whoever this us means. And this is particularly important in our region, especially that, you know, we're in the, like I cover the Middle East and North Africa, which is primarily, you know, an Arab-led region where Arabic remains the #1 languages in the big countries like Egypt, like Saudi Arabia, like Iraq and others. And we work a lot with our engineers to make sure, even in Meta and other, I was at Google before, like the search capabilities, the content on the platform caters in terms of language to the people that are in this region. So, so that's why, you know, why diversity is important. And as a person, I believe it's on everyone, and especially it's like even coming here today, it's my duty to give back to the community, but also to students, to help them. You know, I didn't have this back 25 years ago or 20 years ago at school, right? So I believe, and I'm a parent today, and I have children that are a bit younger than you, but I would love, you know, for people who have done that in their careers to share back to students and to the community to help guide their choices.
What you said, I think, really resonates within our school, because here, especially, we put a really big focus on inclusion and diversity. And especially in our school, we have people from thousands of countries, not thousands, but many countries, and many different, they're from different places, different languages. And we even have an amazing inclusion division in the school where we constantly use students to help promote it, you know, throughout grades, from like grade 1 to grade 9. So I think what you said really links well to what we do here at Regent. So I want to say next, if you were to hire someone in your team, what are Meta's requirements, and what would you be personally looking for, maybe in terms of characteristics or qualifications?
Yes, that's a very good question. So going back to, you know, be good at what you do. So this is the first thing that I test, right? So one is, depending what level I am hiring at, right? So if I look at the past experience, I really want to see people that have excelled in what they've done in their past experience. The people aspect is very important, because at the end of the day, we spend now after COVID, we're back to work, so we're spending many hours with these people. So you want to work with people you develop an affinity to, with, you know, you get along well. And at the end of the day, like I lead the people agenda also at Meta, so I think, you know, the people aspect is very important in everything we do. So how, and when I say people, is really around, you know, the interpersonal skills, teamwork, how they collaborate, you know, with each other. So that's something very important. And maybe the third skill that I look at is leadership skills. And when I say leadership, I don't mean, you know, like the overarching leaders of everything. It's like leading whatever small the task is. Like when you take something, own it, do it well, and report on it. So, and one thing that I don't give a lot of attention to, unlike probably some others, is, you know, the experiences, whether you have the past experience or the industry knowledge that allows you to do the job. Because I believe that if you're a smart person, a strong person, and you know, you can learn things very fast. So if today I'm hiring someone in my retail team that doesn't have past retail experience, it's okay. If you're good, I'll invest in you 2-3 months to learn the industry, and then you can take it from there. So these are the things I look at.
So now I would like to get on to rapid fire questions.
Yes.
So essentially you have 10 seconds for each of these questions, and try and do them as quickly as possible, which will like do whatever you really think of when it first comes to mind, okay?
Yeah.
So these are going to be really random. So, okay. So Mac or Windows?
Mac.
Okay. M&M's or Skittles?
M&M's, of course.
Books or movies?
Movies.
Juice or soda?
Soda.
Walk or drive?
In Dubai, in summer, drive.
Video games or sports?
Sports.
What's your favorite music artist?
An old one. I love Queen as a group.
Yeah, that's a really nice one. What's your favorite book?
Book. I just finished one. I really loved it. I mean, that's the first one that comes to my mind. It's called 40 Rules of Love. It's from a Turkish writer, Elif Shafak, who's, and it's a bit philosophical book about, the values of, goes back to really help you redefine your values around being beyond the materialistic things. So I really liked it.
Okay. From the show Tom and Jerry, who's better, Tom or Jerry?
Jerry.
Apple or Android?
So, Android.
Okay. VR or AR?
VR.
VR. Okay, for these next set of questions, we're going to go into more of a meta type questions, which focus more around what Meta does, the Metaverse, and extra things like that.
Okay.
Okay. For some of the people here who are not so familiar with the concept of Metaverse, could you please explain what it is and what are Meta's plans for the same?
Perfect. So just to give you a bit of context on the Metaverse. So we rebranded our company in October 2021. So we were Facebook, and then overnight, we woke up to a news that our company is now called Meta. And this has been kept very, very undercover in the company. So we were not trained on what Meta is, what the Metaverse is, and as soon as Meta was announced, I had tens of partners and advertising calling me, Anna, what's the Metaverse? I want you to do a presentation on the Metaverse. Should we buy retail spots in the Metaverse? And I'm like, ooh, guys, listen, I'm the same person overnight. My knowledge has not been refreshed now that we are called Meta. But since then, we went through a series of trainings and learnings and upskilling to better understand what the Metaverse is. And think of the Metaverse today. Is it okay? Everything's fine. Yeah. Today it's so think of it as the evolution of the internet. So, internet started as these, I don't know if you know what a desktop is, but I remember back then we had these, big boxes with the, the Pentium, I don't know where it stopped, maybe 5. And when the laptop was created, the New York Times back then said it was a fad. It was so bulky and so slow that nobody think that this is, this was the next generation. So then, but then when, with tech advancement and when the battery life was longer, the processing power was faster, the laptop itself got smaller, this is when, and the affordability of the device was better, this is when the technology scaled. And this is when everyone today uses laptop. And then from laptop, we went into what we call the mobile. And there are some markets around the world where they didn't have any, desktop or laptop stage. Like if you think of some African countries, they directly went into mobile. So when the internet was there, when the infrastructure was built, mobile was the device that everyone uses to access the internet. And today, if we look at the MENA region, 80% of the traffic of the internet is on the small device. So now mobile is the prominent way to access the internet. So the Metaverse is the evolution of the mobile. It's simply doing what you do on the internet in a much more immersive experience. So instead of having a Zoom call on your laptop in a 2D way, in a 2D fashion, you can be in the meeting and you can have a fully immersive experience, feel as if you are in the place and much more connected to the people in the meeting. So this is what essentially the Metaverse is about, is really an evolution of the internet where you will feel you are much more immersed and much more connected to the people that are not with you in the same physical space. So for example, to give you a very, very simple example, when we had Expo, we had concerts. So either you would go to Expo and attend the concert in person, or you can watch it on Facebook Live. It was broadcasted on your laptop, or you could watch it on the Oculus and in the metaverse. So for example, the Coldplay concert, I watched it on the metaverse, like in the metaverse, and it was a much better experience. Like I really felt, I don't know if any of you have already tried the Oculus, and you really feel as if you are transported to this place. So I had a much better experience. I didn't have any tickets to go to Expo. Rather than watching it in 2D on the laptop, I really felt as if I was in the moment with Coldplay, and the sound was much better because I heard that people in the Expo could not hear if they're outside the dome. So this is, for example, a practical example of what the metaverse will allow.
So I'm personally really excited for the metaverse, and I think that this new form of the internet which we'll be using is going to be very efficient in terms of what we do today, and it'll be very innovative for next steps for like shops, buying things online, listening to music, and it'll really revolutionize the way we use the web. And moving on from that, you mentioned the Oculus headset, right? So what are the kinds of interfaces that will be available for Meta to allow people to access the metaverse? And will it be proprietary, like their own line of Oculus headsets, or will you allow things like Microsoft's HoloLens or the HTC Vive series?
Okay, so it's a very good question. And remember, the metaverse is in its infancy stages of development, right? So our vision, Meta has rebranded into Meta, and in the vision is to invest in the metaverse, but we are nowhere near what we want to achieve. And I think we will have a better, or a better view of the metaverse within 5 to 10 years. But it is very important that Meta today as a company does not own the metaverse. Today the metaverse is an open source available to any company that wants to build on the metaverse. So we don't claim that we own the metaverse. However, we are investing people, money to build that metaverse. So think of it, the metaverse as the internet, right? It's open source. Today you can access the internet through Internet Explorer, through Google Chrome, through Apple Safari. So there are different ways, different doors to access the internet, so the metaverse is the same. So today you have the Oculus that you can use to access the metaverse and to access some of the meta platforms on the metaverse, like Horizons or venues when you can see all these concerts. But there are other metaverses that are being built, like Sandbox or Decentraland or even Roblox. I'm sure you're all familiar with Roblox. So these are all, this is actually the metaverse, right? Now, today, the way to access from a Meta perspective, there are different devices that will allow you to access the metaverse. So one is the Oculus, but we're also investing a lot in smart glasses. Yeah. So we have a partnership with Ray-Ban. I don't know if you've seen the Ray-Ban stories. So basically, it's a smart glass where you can overlay the AR to the physical world, and they are further developing these to actually for them with the metaverse in mind. We also have the Portal, which is also providing a fully immersive experience into the metaverse that also allows this. In terms of so the vision is to really have this interoperability, so between devices and between different metaverses, so that you can exit from one, enter the other one in a seamless way. Yeah. So this is the vision. If where we are today, we're not there yet, but definitely this is the vision.
Yeah, the fluidity of the metaverse is what I think is going to be the major factor which makes users join it. Like today, if you have let's say you have a Windows laptop and you have an Apple phone, working between these is not as seamless as one may think it is. You have to open up different applications, log in from different entry points. So something like this where you can maybe just move on to the next device as you go will be, I think, one of the main reasons someone would want to adopt to the metaverse.
So I think there are three things that will allow the adoption of the metaverse at scale. One is the device. Like, I don't like this bulky headset, so hopefully will change into glasses or even lenses that you can wear or remove much easier. Second is the availability of these devices. So now today the production capacity is limited, so they're not available at scale. Like we just opened our first Meta shop in the US, so we don't even have these devices like as Meta in this part of the world. We can buy them through, you know, the different retailers, but not as a Meta. And third, the price point. So again, when you think of mass adoption, you need to have a price point of the device that is affordable to everyone, you know. So this price point has to lower, similar to mobile. Remember when at the beginning mobile was very expensive, but now you can buy devices, very cheap devices that provide you with this experience. So, you know, the infrastructure, the interoperability definitely, but also the device itself has some development needed to allow for scaled adoption.
Okay, so moving on. In the past, many different online and digital platforms have had concerns with security and data breaches. So what are Meta's plans to cope with cybersecurity and privacy risks in the metaverse?
So I wouldn't say in the past, I would say in the current, in the future, privacy is of utmost importance. And privacy over the internet alone cannot be tackled only by private players. So that's why Meta, Google, and other tech companies collaborate a lot with the governments to define what cybersecurity means. And so it is a very complex area. However, we invest, it's okay, there are kids. We invest a lot and we partner with academia, research, to define our community standards, which are the rules by which content can be available on our platform today and on the metaverse. And once you have these community standards, these will allow you to whether remove content or keep content on the platform. So I would say cybersecurity is not only linked to the metaverse, it's also important in today's application, on all the social application that you go to. We continuously, we have processes, people, like a team of over 40,000 people that is only does content review. And we rely a lot on artificial intelligence that understand our community standards and that can remove content in microseconds if they breach these community standards. And of course, we give access to users, to everyone when they are on this platform, to report any incident that goes immediately into manual review, and if it breaches the community standards, then it's taken out of the content, out of the platform. Similarly, like I used to work at Google, YouTube is the same, so they all invest, and the tech and the artificial intelligence has become super smart, that it's even smarter than human to actually be able to identify this type of content.
Okay, for the next question, Meta has recently announced that they'll join the Entrepreneurial Nation project in the UAE, and it's supposed to help provide support to up-and-coming startups, and it was projected that by 2031 they hope to have around 20 firms worth upwards of $1 billion. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and how that works?
Yes, so a part of Meta, we have a team that works a lot with the government entities. So this alliance was with the Ministry of Economy in the UAE, whereby we have a program called Boost with Meta. So today in our region, in Middle East and North Africa, the economy relies a lot on small to medium businesses. They are the backbones of our economies, especially in markets like Saudi Arabia, Egypt, North Africa, and a bit the Levant. And these businesses are very traditional. So to help these small to medium businesses to digitize, especially after the pandemic, we have created this program that is primarily catering to SMBs to upskill them, so to help them, basically create their digital identity, whether they're digital store, digital shop, to start buying online with the aim to help them grow their businesses.
Yeah.
So So this is primarily, so it's a series of, we call it skill up and scale up. So we upskill all these SMBs through a series of trainings, and then we support them on their any digital activities on meta platforms with the aim to help them grow.
So for our last question, how can the metaverse change our lives for the better?
It's a very good question. I think the applications of the metaverse are many, right? And across different fields. So if I think of, there are many benefits across different fields. So one is, of course, healthcare, whereby we have seen that applications of VR is helping, like there's the Walk project in South America, whereby people with limited mobility, putting the VR headset is actually stimulating some brain cells to help them recover fast from their disability. The application in healthcare is also many. So today, any surgeon can teach medical students to operate and to perform any surgery wherever they are in the world. So it's access to knowledge. In entertainment and education, today, thanks to not being physically present somewhere in the world, you can access any curriculum, any education. For example, even in entertainment, you can access the museums of the world without having to travel. And so, for example, in Egypt, the Museum of Egypt is now on the metaverse. So by just taking the headset, you can have a tour of the museum and learn about all the different pieces without having to travel to Egypt. So it's providing access to information to everyone who historically did not have this access. And so these are, and especially on the business side as well, there's a lot of efficiencies that can be gained through the metaverse. So we have examples of many multinationals who use the metaverse for training. So either it's like Nestle or the Hilton, or if, for example, the Hilton Hotel want to do a training for their 10,000 staff around the globe, they don't have to fly everyone anymore, because they can simply connect to the metaverse as if they are in the hotel room, and they can get the training on how the setup should be or how the greeting at the lobby should be, etc., without having to travel. Also, there's a lot of operational cost that can be reduced, which will also help the environment by reducing the travel and the gas emission and everything.
So, with there being a number of advantageous characteristics of the metaverse, do you personally believe to be any drawbacks to the metaverse?
I mean, like every piece of technology, you know, there needs to be a definition of the good use and limiting the abuse of it. So I see the metaverse as any social platform today, any risk that we have today on the social platform. So it's not different. So today, for example, like with my kids, I monitor how much they use the screen time, because I want them to go outside, to play, to build the connection. And similar worries or consideration have to be taken also with the metaverse. So, you know, it's up to us, parents, up to teachers, up to schools, to universities, to define to students and to young people, what do we mean by abuse of technology, and how we should, you know, use tech in general for the good rather than from the less good part of it. Thank you. It was a pleasure. I hope it was useful.